Rice again.
You know, it feels like Liverpool are England's team these days, but I watched the England game yesterday, and I saw 4 Arsenal players, and 2 of them put the goals in the back of the net. This is not that kind of Gooner, an Arsenal podcast, and we're coming to you exactly halfway through the international break. And, you know, nothing of note really has happened outside of, like I said, England beating Andorra 2-0, and the goals were, you know, scored. It was an own goal assisted by Madueke, and then Declan Rice scored the second goal, and Gyökeres had an assist for Sweden, so unfortunately that spoiled some people's hate watches. He also had a pretty good pass leading to another one of Sweden's goals. But, yeah, we're just going to kind of talk about a couple themed things today, like a couple pre-organized little bits and bobs here, just because there isn't really much on the news front. So I'm Sham. You can follow me on Twitter at Shamsdale. And joining me today is my friend AJ, who you can follow. Do you want to do Twitter or Blue Sky for this?
We can do Blue Sky. My Twitter's private, so won't do much good following me there. Nothing gets posted there.
So it's the same handle, I'm pretty sure. So you can follow AJ
It
on
is
Blue
not.
Sky. Is it not the same? No, you changed it.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. No, I'm looking this up. This is how much time I spend on Blue Sky.
It's the future, as the kids say. There's so much more information on Twitter and being able to find different opinions. I feel like Blue Sky is a great place to have less shitheads on the internet, but if you really want instant reactions, instant news, it's still Twitter, unfortunately.
The thing I find about Blue Sky is that the conversations are had more in good faith. Like there've been a couple times where like someone's tried to troll me on Blue Sky, and it's like, what are you doing? This is not the place for this. You know, that's a Twitter thing. But I feel like on Blue Sky, people are genuinely trying to have conversations with each other and not just trying to, like, point score and, like, jump in each other's mentions and, like, say weird stuff. There's still, like, a bit of that I've seen, but it's not, like, you know, I don't know. It's just, it's not as toxic as Twitter is. I'll put it like that.
Yeah, but the good faith conversation, you don't get a lot of footy interaction, at least for me. And that's kind of, I don't know, I want that. I want more good faith football discussion. I talk to you about this randomly all the time, but sometimes the takes are just, I don't even know if it counts as rage bait anymore, because I think people genuinely believe a lot of the outrageous things they say. And it's like, man, this ruins the football experience for me sometimes.
Yeah. I feel like Blue Sky is still coming out of that era where if you're not saying something that's a little positive, at least, then, like, people don't react to that, or, like, the general public of Blue Sky don't react to that as well. I don't know. I feel like in my experience, Blue Sky is kind of, it's like this overwhelming need to be positive in some way. Maybe that's changed recently, but yeah.
That's so interesting. So I've been there for a while. I count as one of, like, I don't know, under the first 30,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's an overwhelming need to be positive. I think it's an overwhelming need to not be a dick to other people. So you can be negative and self-negative and negative about the world as long as you're not putting that out onto other users. Maybe that's just my personal. Everyone's online experience is unique to them, right? So
yeah, I might have to change my feed, but you can follow AJ at spacelostshitpost.me. That's where you can find AJ on Blue Sky, and yeah, we're gonna have some Arsenal convo, and so hopefully this will spark some proper footy debate on Blue Sky. but
Yeah, that's the goal. I would just correct Sham's intro in saying that England were without their best player and Arsenal's best player.
they
So
were.
really, if you count that, there are at least five Arsenal players, and I'm sure there will be more because we got a lot coming through the pipeline. And
Also, Ben White's injured, and that guy makes the squad if he's fit. So
yeah, I think it's so funny that like a decade ago now, maybe a little more. Like Arsene Wenger was really big about the British core, and unfortunately, that British core fell apart. Wasn't up to the standard. Arteta's not putting a label on it, but yeah, Arsenal is obviously historically like the blackest club in London, maybe even in England, and the most multicultural. And now, you're seeing that Arsenal is embracing British traditions and British football and getting stuck in and all those euphemisms for whatever for English style football, and they're still criticized. It's so interesting. Arsenal can never be right.
yeah, it's really weird because I saw a Liverpool fan put out this 11, like the starting 11, including all their new signings, right? And it was Brazilian goalkeeper, Dutch right back, Dutch center back, French center back, Hungarian left back, Dutch 6, Argentinian 8, German 8, who's playing Egyptian right wing, Swedish striker, French left wing. Like not a single English player in there. And they didn't take too kindly me saying that there isn't really an English player who plays a key role for them. Maybe Curtis Jones if you want to stretch that a little bit. But yeah, it's just really funny to me because not to play this card, but like I feel like if the roles were reversed and Arsenal was the team that didn't have a single English player in their starting 11, or even like one that would come off the bench regularly and like be a very, very important player, I feel like Arsenal would be really heavily criticized for that in the
They
media.
were. They've done it. They've
Yeah,
already done it
they were.
historically. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So I feel like if we were to,
that's interesting.
yeah. So I feel like if that was to happen again, it would just, I don't know, it would be a whole thing. And now I don't know, it's just kind of being ignored. So I think people just really kind of underestimate the power that national football media has, and that a lot of the coverage you see is a choice. I'll put it like that.
Yeah, and I would say Liverpool had Trent, right? He came through the academy and he's British. But I would say, at least right now, amongst the bigger teams, Arsenal is the most deliberate about bringing academy talent through, but also when they're in the market, finding available English options and paying the tax or premium on that. They've paid a premium on Ben White. They paid a premium on Aaron Ramsdale when he was still part of the squad. They played a premium for Nani Madueke and Ebericha Eze. Like Arsenal are willing to put their money where their mouth is in terms of producing and integrating British talent. And for me, as an Arsenal fan, I am really proud of that. Only because I know the history of Arsenal being criticized for not being English enough.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a nice undertone, kind of to what we've been trying to do, where we're still, kind of keeping like a local vibe to it as well, and not just because I don't know I don't want to say that like it waters down the success of a club if it's just all foreign players. Like I don't think it really does, but I don't know. It's a bonus if Arsenal were to go win something with a bunch of English players. Yeah, I just kind of think it would make it feel that much more special. Maybe not to you and I, because we're over on the other side of the Atlantic, but like I think to fans from North London and London and England, to see an Arsenal team built using players from that country I think
From
that'd
the
be
city, if we're being
yeah,
honest, like
yeah,
Arsenal is sourcing London talent, which
yeah,
again I think is great, and I don't think they get enough plaudits for that, especially outside of I think the professional realm where fans are really bickering about are you a local or not, are you a real fan or not, do you go to the games or not. Arsenal is really intentional, knowing it has a global audience, of staying true to North London and quite frankly even to South London when we talk about the connections of Black Arsenal. So
yeah,
yeah, as an outsider, I'm really proud of that.
yeah, yeah. Well, let's move on to kind of the first thing that you and I talked about doing today, which is Rosebud Thorn, and this is a game that my wife likes to play with me sometimes at the end of the week, where we'll be having dinner, and she'll just be like, "All right, Rosebud Thorn," and the way this works is you. So the rose is something from the time span we're gonna do for this is the Arsenal's first three games. So the rose is something that you really enjoyed. The bud is something that it hasn't come to fruition yet, but you're very interested in seeing where it goes. And the thorn obviously is the negative, something that you're annoyed about or worried about or concerned about, that maybe dampens the experience slightly for you. So we'll start with the rose. What is your rose from Arsenal's first three games this season?
I think stepping back, Arsenal being third in the table after going to Anfield and Old Trafford, even if United is terrible. I mean that's good, right? To be 3 points off the leaders, and those 3 points are losing to them at home 1-0. Like that's I know a lot of people are frustrated, but the adage that the season isn't won in August or September, like that's not a bad start. It's not a perfect start. It's not a great start, but Arsenal is in the top four in touching distance, and I think given the context of the buds and the thorns we'll talk about, like I can't, as a person who's watched Arsenal for over 20 years, like I can't be upset at that. I have to be content to know that the team has not completely been derailed based on all the extenuating circumstances.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I think my well, like first of all, I just kind of to agree with your point, like the I feel like the Anfield loss is getting a little overblown just because I think Arne Slot put it perfectly when he said 8 times out of 10 that's a draw, that's a 0-0 draw, and then 1 time out of 10 we win, 1 time out of 10 they won or they win, and this is the 1 time out of 10 that we win. It was very even, and we went there with a number of injuries, and we adapted to that. The game plan, I think, was okay. It worked for the first half. I think it needed to be changed a little bit in the second half, a little earlier than Arteta eventually did do that. But I think all in all, it was really even. We prevented Liverpool from really looking threatening. It took them 35 minutes to have a touch in our box even, and we'd had 17 at that point, I think the number is. So, I think we did a great job at nullifying them in their own ground. It's just that they produced a spectacular moment. So, yeah, I think after going to Old Trafford, and United were really up for us that day. I don't care how bad anyone says they are, and we'll talk about how bad they are later on. But, they had this game on the calendar, and they played like it. And Leeds, I felt like Leeds would be a bit of a wild card. Obviously, we beat them 5-0. But, I completely agree where, I think we're really in good standing, and I think people are just kind of letting the loss away at Liverpool change how they feel about what we've done so far. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where Arsenal fans are being infected by narratives of other fan groups and the media, but also, and we talked about this, Arteta has raised the level of expectation so much that Arsenal fans expect to go to Anfield and win and dominate without Kai Havertz, Bukayo Saka, Martin Odegaard, and William Saliba. Four of the most important tactical players, but also four of Arsenal's best players. And the refrain is no excuses. They still should have won. To me, again, as someone who's been drilled 5-1, 6-1 at Anfield, like to even have that expectation now just shows that this team is for real. Like the idea that Arsenal fans are disappointed of not winning at Anfield without their best players, I think speaks a whole lot.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's a great point. I think my rose is how complete the squad feels because we had an excellent summer window. I think obviously the Liverpool window is getting all the headlines and rightly so. That's kind of the closest thing you'll ever see to a FIFA window, but I think our window really did make our squad a complete one, right? We finally have proper backup to Raya. If Raya were to miss time, I'm confident that Kepa could come in and not be a complete disaster, the way that certain keepers in the past would have been, like Neto and others. We have White and Timber at right back. We have Mosquera who can play right back, but can also fill in at right center back, which he's probably going to have to do for at least a week. And then Saliba and Gabriel. Behind Gabriel, you have Calafiori. You have Hincapié, and those two can also play left back along with Lewis Skelly. And then at 6, you have Zubimendi, you have Norgard, who's missed some time, but also you have Rice. Maybe you have Lewis Skelly, who can play as 6. And if not, Lewis Skelly's also an option at left 8, where you have Rice and Eza and Marino and Havertz. And then at right 8, you've got Odegaard, you've got Wineri. If those two are down, I could see us using Max Down in that position possibly. And then you have Saka at right wing, followed by Madueke. And Martinelli can play there as well as left wing. And then you have Trossard. Eza is probably going to play at left wing primarily. And Madueke can play left wing as well. And then up top you have Gyökeres and Havertz and Jesus. And if we hit some sort of catastrophe at that position, you have Marino, you have Trossard, you have Martinelli, who can all be emergency options as well. So it's a supremely deep squad, and I just feel like not only do we have options to mitigate the losses of players to injury or suspension or whatever, but also we now have tools to play in different ways, right? You can play with 2 6s and a 10. You can play with 1 6 and dual 8s. You can also have an overlapping left back. You can have an inverting left back. And you can kind of do the same on the right side as well. You can try to have Timber invert. You can have White overlapping. So there's ways to go, very heavy metal if you are attacking a low block. And then there's ways to maybe play a little bit conservatively, play with a bit of safety at the back if you're going up against, a really big team. So, all in all, I just think we've given Arteta the tools to really succeed this year. And I don't want to say no excuses because life always finds a way to give you an excuse. But I will say the microscope is really on Arteta now. And if we hit the end of the season and we haven't won anything, I think there's now a bigger window of opportunity for people to say, well, it's because Arteta didn't do enough. So maybe that's the next place we have to look. So, all in all, I'm really just happy with the quality that the squad has and the depth that it has. And, we're sitting here talking about a team that's lost, again, Saka and Havertz and Saliba. Odegaard's back, but we missed him for a half. And we're not going crazy over it. We're obviously a little concerned because those are some of our best players, but we're not freaking out about it. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think your rose is partially my bud in that
Okay.
I'm super excited to see Eza be an integral player and a starter but I think it's bigger than that. I'm interested to see how capable Mikel Arteta is and changing the lineup and the formation based on the competition. So because the team has so much depth when they compete in the FA Cup, or is it Carabao still? The League
I
Cup,
think
whatever
so.
sponsor
Yeah.
whatever sponsor the League Cup is. Maybe it was, I'm thinking Carabao because I saw an older video. But whatever the League Cup is, I think having the ability to mix it up and change, especially when players get back from injury, I'm really excited to see that, almost like a FIFA or EAFC type of way, where how creative can Mikel be in terms of squad rotation while still competing on these fronts.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I'm personally really excited to see him tinker and toy and give people platforms to see who can play and who can't, and what the cohesion, the dynamics look like in terms of creating all those different options that you were talking about, in terms of double pivots, a pure number 10, the normal 4-3-3 with two eights. How Mikel Arteta is a risk averse individual. I think that's safe to say, but how adventurous can he be? Like, I don't know if it's a stalemate and Arsenal are dominating, is he willing to maybe put Odegaard at one of the sixes and bring on Ethan and Eza and Martinelli, and because we're dictating so much of the ball, not have a pure defensive six, right? I would be really interested to see. I don't think that'll ever happen, but
I think he'd stick with Zubamendi at 6 primarily if we were trying to do that.
maybe. But if Zubin hurt, if he's tired, if he's off with a card, I don't know. That for me is what I'm really interested and excited about, is the opportunity for Mikel Arteta to be creative and to have creative teams go out there. Even if it's super defensive. Like, hopefully we don't have to be defensive this season, but I would be interested in how creative he could be with his low blocks as well.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think excuse me. I think there's a lot of ways that you could see this team lining up. Um, and yeah, I mean, like you said, you could even just set it up as a low block and just hit them on the counter with like a front three of Martinelli, Gyökeres, and Madueke, and see how that goes, and just launch. I I don't foresee many situations in which you'd have to do that, but that is it's just nice to know that this team can have many faces to it, which I think is really cool. My bud, it's kind of tucked into all this, but my bud is really just the attacking players that we signed, as a Gyökeres and Madueke, because um, I think all three of those guys, with the exception of Saka and maybe Havertz, are better than all of our previous attacking options that we've had. And yeah, I just think they're all capable of producing really high level moments of quality, and I'm really interested to see how they gel together and how they make Arsenal a more um, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like more of a swashbuckling team in a way. And I just think they bring so many different dimensions to this team, right? Madueke gives you speed on the right. He gives you kind of like a left-footedness on the left side of the pitch. Gyökeres is almost a bulldozer of a center forward. Loves to run in behind. He's up for the physical battle. Probably best finisher in the team right now, and just very, very driven individual. And then Eza is that guy who can produce those match-winning moments of quality. He's super silky on the ball. Came on in his first touch to beat Szoboszlai was better than anything had done, or anything Martinelli had done in 65 minutes prior to Eza stepping on the pitch. So I just think all together, those three can really take the attack up a notch. And, I was watching Eza and Madueke combine for England multiple times yesterday, and I was really excited about what the possibilities there were as well. So, and on top of that, I think Madueke and Eza especially kind of bring a fluidity to the team, because you saw Eza kind of drifting out to the right a little bit, and Madueke, obviously, you've seen him on the left. So I just think it just gives us a bunch of new options there, and I'm really excited to kind of watch those three contribute and play and see what they can bring to this Arsenal team. So
Yeah, me too. I think for me, I'm not one of those fans who has to see 5-1-6-2 all the time to enjoy a win. And at the same time, I love watching Arsenal be good and get plaudits for their on the ball work, which oftentimes in the recent I guess past or present is often criticized.
So who you got? What do you have for your Thorn?
So I'm gonna have two, and I will start with mirroring my bud in that the creativity that's possible is exciting, but you can't really do that with all the injuries. Um, I was a huge Takahiro Tamiyasu fan. I think when he was fit, he was probably our best all around defender, definitely our best one on one defender. And Jurgen Timber's kind of taken over for that in terms of his ability to play across. But now Ben White, because of Tommy never being able to be fit, Ben White is struggling. It's kind of one of those things where you understand why Benjamin White didn't want to do the surgery, because the surgery has had knock-on effects for over a year now. And that's frustrating, right? Saliba's injury is hopefully not very serious, but Kai being out, Saka being out, Norgard being out, I think the injuries are definitely a frustration this early in the season.
Yeah.
Hopefully the depth allows people to not have to rush back, and hopefully the depth is good enough to win without those key players playing. But it is incredibly frustrating, and I hope whatever is happening over at Soba gets fixed. I feel like as an Arsenal fan, it's always, damn, the best player's injured, or our best players are injured, or our most exciting players are injured. It's like never getting to see Jack Wilshere play extended periods, or Aaron Ramsey being a star and then being hurt, right? Or even to hurt some people's feelings, Robin Van Persie showing promise, being hurt, giving 2 or 3 amazing seasons, and then leaving and being healthy to fire another team to a title. It's just frustrating. Abu Dhabi, what could have been. As an Arsenal fan, that's a thorn, having to say what could have been so often.
Rosicky as well. I think people forget about Rosicky, but they called him Little Mozart on the ball, and then the guy came to Arsenal. He was injured basically all the time.
Yeah, incredible player. And then my other thorn is a person you mentioned in your kind of explanation of the different things we can do, is Gabriel Martinelli. As someone who's invested a ton of stocks in Gabriel Martinelli, even as the fall off has been visible, it hurts. It hurts. It's frustrating. It's upsetting. It's so many different things. Was it the loss of Granit Xhaka, which I still believe is a huge part of Martinelli's success, was the guidance and leadership and direction, not just when he's on the ball, but off the ball from Granit Xhaka. The ability to have a lot more control on the left side in terms of Zinchenko, and that giving Martinelli room higher up the field in order to operate. Arsenal not being as dominant, so teams are pushing forward, which gives more space in behind. I think about a lot of the highlights where you have a player that's gone now, but Fabio Vieira really just, or even Gabriel Jesus, another person who's not in the team right now, playing a one-time ball through for Martinelli. You think about the Real Madrid goal. I think because Arsenal isn't as dominant offensively early in games, that hurts Gabriel Martinelli in ways we maybe didn't think about and consider, and maybe that is why his role will change and he'll be a finisher now instead of a starter. As teams start to come into Arsenal, hopefully Arsenal's up and they're pressing. But
Yeah.
his fall off is so frustrating, and it becomes even more frustrating when you watch him play for Brazil and show those glimpses that we have seen since he was 18 or 19. So for me, that whole situation, his decision making is, and I mean this as harshly as possible, might be worse than Theo Walcott's right now. Like if you think about how frustrating it was watching Theo Walcott on the ball and his decision making when he wasn't clean through and only had to strike the ball, like I don't know what's happened, but I do know it's incredibly frustrating as someone who was really invested in Gabriel Martinelli being a star.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, especially because, when he played for Brazil earlier, I guess last week at this point, um, he had a moment where he cut in through two defenders, and I'm not sure if he attempted a cross or a shot, but the
It was a
action
shot. It
was
went wide.
it was a shot, yeah. Oh yeah, he shot it. He shot at the near post and it hit the net. But that was a more decisive action than we've seen him make in like a season and a half. And I just kind of wonder with Martinelli because is it maybe him being overcoached? Is it because he plays like a player who just has too much going on in his head, right? And he doesn't know what he's supposed to do. Because I just keep thinking about that moment when we were breaking on Liverpool and Gyökeres was kind of getting ready to run in behind Konate, and Martinelli refused to release the ball and then dribbled, towards him and then past him to the byline, and then instead of cutting it back to Gyökeres or trying to play, across into the penalty area or something, he just stopped and tried to take his man on. I don't know. He's just trying to do too many things. So yeah, that one is really concerning. For my thorn, it's also the injuries, and it's just like the window that we've had, right? I'm really happy about it, and I've said that this mitigates the issue of injuries. But the fact of the matter is, you're not going to win that many things if your best players are consistently out or if your best players miss huge parts of the season. And to be 3 games in to the campaign and have Saka out, Saliba out, Havertz out, I'm going to count Jesus because he's very useful, White out, and then you missed Odegaard for half a game. I don't know. I'm worried, and like I just want to know what the cause of this is. Is it something that we're doing in training? Is this a problem with the physios? Are the physios not doing their job? Have our players just been overplayed at this point? And now minutes from the last few seasons are really starting to take their toll. I don't quite know what it is, but as good as Madueke and Mosquera and and Hincapie and all those guys are, if we're missing our star players for a lot of the season, then I am really concerned as to what we can achieve. And so it's especially annoying because I feel like Liverpool get kind of lucky with this sort of thing, right? Salah's going to be out for a month, but other than that, do you think he's going to miss any time? And Isak, I promise you, if we'd signed Isak, he'd get hurt after a couple games. And so it's just Liverpool, for some reason, have really mastered keeping their players largely fit. Maybe Arne Slot is just shoving virgins into an active volcano every Thursday, Friday. I don't know, but I want us to figure out the injury thing. I want us to, really just start having some good luck in that respect as well. And I am really concerned as to what our ceiling can be if guys like Saka and Saliba just, keep missing time.
Yeah, and I don't think any Liverpool fans will listen to this, but I can already hear them saying like Liverpool has injuries, and it's always counting the number of injuries, not who is injured and when, and the length of time and the overlap, and yeah, it's I guess the one good thing is William Saliba won't lead the league in minutes this season, at least for right now. Yeah, I think he's done that the past 2 seasons, maybe, or been tied the past 2 seasons. So, which to your point, maybe that's catching up to him.
Yeah. And, thankfully, recent reports suggest that Saka might be back even for the Forest match, or he might be back for the City match. It doesn't sound like he's out for that long. I think Saliba, L'Equipe came out and said that Saliba would be missing 3 to 4 weeks, which, if you're placing that from the time of the injury, means that he'll probably miss Forest, but he may be back for City. So, we're lucky in the fact that these aren't detrimental injuries per se, and these aren't huge spans of time that they're going to be missing given the international break. But we are hitting that point in the season where 3 weeks means you're missing 6 or 7 matches. And, I really need us to make use of our squad and avoid losing key players for those times. So, and hopefully, Havertz is back end of October or something. We'll see. But, yeah, that's probably the thing that could derail the season. So I think we've got like 15 minutes before you have to go. So let's hit the power rankings real quick. So you and I were chatting about this offline, and we're going to rank the Big Five, Spurs, and Newcastle. I'm not going to call it the Big Six. Spurs have not won enough trophies being the Big Six. So Big Five, Spurs, and Newcastle. Coming in at last place, you and I both have Newcastle. So just kind of tell me why you think Newcastle are the worst team in that group.
I don't know if they have replaced the players that they've lost. I don't know that the players that they have are good enough. I have never been the biggest Gordon fan, and it seems like he's struggling right now. Joe Linton is hurt. I don't know how long Joe Linton will be out. I think the performance against Liverpool was overblown in terms of what Newcastle will be able to produce on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And I think the addition of European football is going to be a lot for that squad. I don't think they're deep enough. Again, I don't know if their players are good enough. They're obviously not going to be able to rotate as much as they would like, and I think they're in some trouble, honestly.
Yeah, that squad feels a little thin, and I just also think how do I put this? I think the vibes at that club are probably very low right now because, I mean, it was kind of an embarrassing summer for them, if you think about it, right? They failed to get multiple targets. Then Liverpool not only beat them to the center forward target that they wanted, but then took their center forward as well before beating them in the Premier League when they had, a golden opportunity to get revenge. And, yeah, I just think unless Newcastle somehow make better use of their nation state owners, I think you're seeing the point just before the decline for Newcastle, where they sink back into being maybe like a mid-table team or something. Yeah, I mean, I think Gordon now might be angling for a move next summer. I could see him trying to go, and they have a couple players as well that I just think might see this as their last season in Newcastle before moving on to something bigger and better. I mean, they signed Wissa, they signed Voltemad. And I think those are good players, but yeah, ultimately, Champions League and Premier League and League Cup and FA Cup, I think that's just going to be too much for them. Up next at number 6, you have Manchester United.
Yeah, so I actually had United below
Oh,
Newcastle
right,
in my
you did.
ratings,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Switch Newcastle and United. Sorry
yeah,
about that. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I think I think United's a bad club right now. I think that's the end of it. And as someone who grew up watching Sir Alex Ferguson win everything all the time, I love that.
Yeah,
I think it's it's enjoyable, but it's also kind of sad. I think there's been a lot of debate amongst pundits and commentators about Ruben Amorim's system. I don't think it's the system. They've had ten different managers with 10 different systems.
yeah.
This has obviously been the toughest part of the run, but I think the club is just in a bad way right now. I don't know if they've hit rock bottom. I don't know if last season was rock bottom or if there's still more to go. But I don't think they're built to win.
Yeah.
They're lucky they don't have Europe, so they can play their best players once a week. I think Acuna and Mwomo are good players, but I think the idea that they are going to save Manchester United is wrong. I think they have been overperformers for bad teams that don't have the pressure of Manchester United to win every game, and that's a different kind of pressure. I'm not sold on Sesko. When there was the Sesko Gyökeres debate, I was one of the people who's like, I don't care whoever comes, hope they score goals. But the more I'm seeing of Sesko, the more that idea that he is very raw is completely evident. I also have questions about his mentality. Just seeing some of the comments that he's made, some of the stuff that's been leaked, I think for that,
Taking a penalty 10th against
I'm not going to say
Grimsby Town.
that was his choice. Maybe it was the manager. Maybe the manager already knows how his penalties were taken. I think the penalties, a lot of people have overblown that, but Amarin said at that point, if you're going to penalties against Grimsby Town, who cares, right? You have already functionally lost and the game is over.
Yeah,
What's the point of the penalties? So for me, like, again, hilarious they lost, but the idea that the penalties were somehow indicative of something more, I'm not buying into only because Amarin himself said, like, I didn't care. Like, we shouldn't be going to penalties against Grimsby Town. Who cares about the penalties? But I do think United's struggling. I think Casemiro has been amazing for the first 3 weeks. I do not know if he has the legs to be at the level that he's at for 38 games. He has done it. He has done it 3 weeks, which is surprising to me as someone who thinks he should have been shipped to the glue factory 2 seasons ago. So I don't think Bruno's cut out to be in a double pivot all season long. I think he's going to get moved to one of the front three positions, or the system will change. And their wingbacks are suspect. I don't. We could go through the list. Onana just left, but I don't. They don't have a solid keeper. Harry Maguire is arguably their most important player in terms of getting points, either protecting points coming on and defending, or gaining points to get a draw, eke out a win, which is scary in 2025. Like, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but yeah, United's just in a bad way.
no, I think you covered it great. Just a very dysfunctional team, and they have owners that I don't think are going to let them realize their ceiling, if there is a ceiling. I think you're going to continue practicing, or they're going to continue practicing austerity, and they're going to lay off people and try to save money here and there. And yeah, I don't think the top level investment needed to take United to kind of the next level is going to happen. Up next, so fifth in this list, you have Manchester City, and I initially disagreed, but I think right now it makes sense.
City are Manchester City,
Yeah,
but they're also 13th after 3 games, and that's not a good look. I think they have a ton of talent, a ton of players. They have a great manager. I'm actually someone who thinks that Pep is a little over-indexed for having the best teams, the most expensive teams in the leagues that he plays against, and the best players, right? Generally speaking, no matter where Pep has gone, he has had the best player in the league, followed closely by the second and third best player, all on the same team. Not to say that he's not an amazing manager and he hasn't won a ton of things, but I think over the past couple of seasons, in my opinion, you've seen the limitations of Pep Guardiola and his ability to manage success. And City didn't have a bad season last season, right? They had a bad season for City. If you were any other team that hadn't invested, state GDPs into your football team, it'd be an okay season, right? So I think Pep is going to be tested in ways where he cannot just rely on the best players on the most money digging him out of a hole. And I'm interested to see what that coaching looks like from him. But right now they're not firing on all cylinders.
And I just think they're so bad out of possession. The way that they press, the way that they man mark just doesn't make any sense to me. They consistently set up in a way that just makes it so easy to counter on them and like break on them. And I don't know if that's Pep's players not understanding his instructions or if that's Pep just trying something reckless. And also, it's a really dainty team at this point. Pep kind of was one of the architects of the four center back setup, and he had guys like Rodri and De Bruyne who were very physically capable, very robust players. But now it's Oscar Bob and Cherki and Foden, and it's just, I don't know. I feel like they get bullied and kind of physically outmatched on a regular basis. So, kind of a concerning start for them. Fourth, you have Spurs.
Yeah, I think Spurs are going to be a good team. Unfortunately, I'm a huge fan of Thomas Frank. I think he has them set up in a way that they're not going to leak goals all season. And they have people who are capable of scoring goals. I don't know if they're going to be near the top the entire season, but I do know that they're going to finish top half of the table, and they're going to do that at a canter. So hopefully Thomas Frank isn't as great a manager as I think he is, but I think Spurs are solid. They've invested well. Levy has left, which I think is a great thing for Spurs, unfortunately. I know a lot of Arsenal fans are giving Vinay stick, but I think Vinay is probably better than Levy in a lot of areas. Vinay oversaw a lot of our rebuild, so I think Spurs are going to be a good team, and I think they're going to play a lot of people off the park. That being said, they're still Spurs. They're still Spursy. They're still the history of the Tottenham for Thomas Frank to contend with, but. Yeah, I think they're going to be a solid side for most, if not all, of the season, unless something outrageous happens.
Yeah, they've made some good signing. I think Kudus is going to be good for them. Xavi Simons, I think, will be solid. I think people are maybe over-indexing a little bit what they think he's going to do. They are dealing with some injuries, and I do think that squad is a little thin. I think it would take maybe 2 to 3 injuries to really derail them. And they're going to be back in the Champions League this season, so that's kind of a beast to contend with. And I do think it is an advantage that Arsenal have, and probably Liverpool as well, that they're suited to the Champions League, and I guess City as well. But I think Arsenal, Liverpool, and City are very well adapted to handling Champions League, in addition to their other commitments as well. And I think some of these other teams are really going to struggle with that. So Chelsea is third for you.
I mean, Chelsea needs to be good, in my opinion. They've invested the money. They've recruited, I won't say well, but they've recruited in terms of quantity. And at least from what I've seen this season, I don't think it's going to be true long term. They look better without Cole Palmer. At least from what I've seen, I think Cole Palmer is a good player. I think oftentimes he's overpraised, but I still think he's good. but I'm interested to see. I will also acknowledge that Chelsea has benefited from multiple refereeing and VAR decisions that were incorrect that have bailed them out. But I still think they're a good team. I think they're deep. I think Maresca is a growing manager. I don't think he's awful. I don't know if he's good or great yet, but they have the talent. They have a good manager. They're going to invest when they need to invest, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think they're in for a rude awakening in terms of being able to rotate their whole squad for their European matches now that they're not in the Farmers League. But yeah, I think they'll be a good side. Um, their defense is a little shaky though. I'm interested in that, but other than that, they seem pretty solid. And the keeper, who yikes.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's funny that Chelsea have seemingly signed every keeper in the world and they still can't find a good one. I think the defensive injuries are going to be a problem for them. I think only having really Joao Pedro at center forward right now while Liam Delap is injured, I think is going to be an issue for them. They're going to, I feel like they're going to play Pedro kind of into the ground, or they're going to have to get creative with what they do up top. Yeah, all in all, I think Chelsea are going to be a good team this year. I think, like Spurs, like Newcastle, they are going to struggle kind of balancing Champions League commitments with everything else. But I think they will be a good team this year. I think Chelsea will finish in the Champions League places again. That's not something I can say about anyone else on this list that we've talked about so far, barring maybe City, but I think that the possibility is now real that they don't do that. But yeah, I think they are still a distant third compared to our top two. And
Yeah.
that means number two is...
Yeah, I have Arsenal number two. I think that Arsenal lost at Anfield, right? That doesn't mean they're not going to win the title, but they didn't draw at Anfield. You can talk about the performance against United. I'm one of those people who has evolved in my thinking to, at the end of the day, I want the 3 points. I love beautiful, free flowing football. I love the art that Arsene Wenger brought to English football, but I also want to win. And so the 3 points at Old Trafford is something Arsenal don't do very often. So I'll take it. I think the Leeds game shows that Arsenal can be explosive. I think Arsenal is a very good team. I think they're well rounded. I think once they figure out the best 11 and are able to play that best 11, they might be a better team than Liverpool. But Arsenal don't know what their best 11 is right now, and they're certainly not playing together in a way that I think is better than Liverpool right now.
Yeah. So we'll bundle the two together. Obviously, Liverpool is number one. I think kind of the difference here between Arsenal and Liverpool is that it's competing ideologies, right? And Liverpool have decided that they're going to make their attacking ceiling maybe one of the best in the world, and with Isak and Ekitike and Verts, and so it really is up to how fit they can stay, and if they can stay fit. And I think Liverpool are just kind of one of those teams that have luck and fate on their side. And that's not to take away from how good they are. I think they're amazing. But I think they just have the talent level, as well as just kind of they're in that time where things are just going their way. And I think those will combine to allow them to have a really successful season. And as bad as their defense is going to be at times, and I think they will have defensive injuries, I just think there is enough in that attack to get them over the line and score 4 or 5 goals a game if they need to. And whereas Arsenal, I think Arsenal are going to do 2 or 3 a game, possibly, but I just think more often than not we're going to be relying on our defense, and there are just situations where I still am waiting to see if we have an attack that can bail us out and kind of get us back into matches when we need it. So I think for me that's the difference between the two.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Well, you got to take off, so we'll put a bow on this. AJ, thanks so much for being here, and thank you for chatting about the footy with me. We'll be I'm going to try to have you back on soon because this was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I would love to be able to contribute more and have a great day.
Yeah, you too. All right, so you guys can follow AJ at spacelawshitpost.me on Blue Sky, and I'm Sham. You can follow me on Twitter at Shamsdale. You can check out the pod at Not That Gooner on Twitter and Blue Sky, and Not That Kind of Gooner on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok and all that. So we'll be back with you later this week, and until then, take care, get your mind out of the gunner, and we talk to you soon. So bye. Bye.